Hello. This video is going to be called Veganism 101, the Pitfalls of Veganism. I've been thinking about making this video for a while. It's purely, for advice for perhaps people just starting out on the path of veganism, seeing mistakes that I've made in the past or that I've seen other people make, when they've come to me for advice or, things like that. Excuse my disheveled appearance. I'm rather tired. I spent all day stuffing envelopes, which was boring and tiring. Anyhow, okay, so I guess the first one I want to talk about is like the emotional resensitization process that people tend to go through when they get on the track to becoming interested in animal liberation and veganism. There's kind of a process that people go through when they realize that essentially they have been engaging in what they feel is a highly unethical practice. So, the consumption of animal products and the suffering that results from this consumption. It's a bit like, there's a book called Alice Through the Looking Glass. And becoming vegan is a little bit like stepping through the looking glass and going into a topsy-turvy world where everything looks very different than it did before when you were in your previous state of mind. And it can result in people being very highly emotionally charged a lot of the time, which then results in some actions on their behalf and experiences that they feel, which can be very negative. It's basically, I think, what you're seeing. When you see the few vegans out there, there are some that go around, calling people murderers and things like that. And obviously, that's how they feel, and there's legitimacy behind that feeling, obviously. But it's completely counterproductive, both for them and for what they believe in. Because, you attract more flies with honey, something sweet, although honey isn't vegan, than you do with vinegar. And yelling and screaming at people and making vegans out to be crazy people, which is how it will be perceived to others, doesn't do anything, for the cause. So basically, what I found effective, because it was driving me a bit mad, really, and everyone else around me, was to actively desensitize myself without compromising my principles. So to go out of my way to not avoid situations where people were consuming animal products and focus more on me and what I was doing and the fact that I was doing what I thought was the right thing instead of being obsessed with what they were doing, if that makes any sense. And that brought me a much deeper sense of peace. And if people see that, vegans are happy, peaceful people, it's going to go a long way to breaking down that stereotype. Yeah, and I guess one thing that you have to think about is that it's very easy to get in this state where you kind of forget where you were coming from before. It's like everything flips over and you develop this like amnesia about your previous life where you consumed animal products too. And you think that because you've had this revelation and you've changed, magically, that the same thing should happen for everyone else. But in reality, it wasn't just one thing that made you make this decision. It was a whole bunch of experiences. It was being exposed to a whole bunch of things. So, and the first thing that you saw may not have been the thing that did it for you. Maybe there were a few different things. And just have a bit of patience and faith that maybe exposure to you might be the part of the package that makes that person reconsider what they're doing, and they may make some positive decisions in the future. It might not be going vegan, but they might stop buying products tested on animals, or they might cut down their meat consumption, or something else positive. We all came to this path in different ways, and there's no one size fits all sort of approach. I think another issue that I've seen with people who come to me for advice is that people are very afraid, because they've been living in a society which tells them constantly that eating meat and other animal products is essential. They're always afraid of things like, when they start out, they're afraid that they're going to be protein deficient and things like that. So I had one person who I really like, and I haven't heard from for a while, so I hope she's doing well. One person came to me for advice because she went vegan after watching Earthlings. And she said, "Oh, I feel terrible, I don't have any energy, blah, 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 like, what am I doing wrong? I think I might be protein deficient." And so I asked her what she was eating. And it turns out that the only thing she was eating was fresh vegetables. There was absolutely no carbohydrates or protein-rich foods in her diet. So of course she was feeling lackluster. There was nothing really in it to give her any energy. So I gave her a few pointers on, different things she might want to try out that were based on her personal tastes in food, and she felt better. So, another thing you need to consider is that veganism is it's the development of new habits. It's not just, new eating habits, new living habits, not just dropping meat, eggs, milk from your diet. You need to also add other things in, which is really easy, and there's websites all over the place that give you all the information that you'll probably need to do that quite easily. And I guess the other thing as well is that some people really do approach veganism on a faith basis, and that is not always the best way to go about things. You need to keep an open mind, but not so open that your brains fall out. So I find what I find helpful is to look at all the information, even information that doesn't come from vegan sources, because if you're going to look at critiques of veganism, you will find tips on how to be healthier as a vegan. Possible, like risks and things like to watch out for that may not be as dangerous as the people who are, writing these websites are saying, but usually are a concern of some type. There are a lot of people around who claim that early man never ate any meat, that meat eating is completely unnatural for humans. And you can only justify that from a faith basis. Just as it's equally ridiculous to say that people can only derive calcium from milk, because there are lots of different races of people who never consumed milk, and obviously they were getting calcium somewhere. Perhaps from green vegetables. Yes. So both are equally ridiculous. Early man did eat meat. They ate it out of necessity. There were few other viable sources of protein or fat available to them at the time. That's my perspective anyway. I mean, this whole thing is nothing but my perspective. You will have your own perspectives to add. But I hope it was helpful to someone, and thanks for listening. See ya.